Welcome back to another episode of In the End There's Always a Disney Guide. Before we get into today's episode, make sure you go subscribe, or well, first go to DisneyGuide.com and subscribe to my blog, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out the About section, and subscribe to everything as far as for my social media links. But today we're going to be talking about Law and Order SVU. As you know, Stabler made an epic return back to Law and Order. And it's been nearly 10 years since he's played Detective Stabler on Law and Order SVU. So the Judgment Crime show that has now run for more than 22 seasons than the original Law and Order. Maloney left the series in 2011, last appearing in season 12 after his contract negotiations with NBC failed. His absence left a huge hole in the series, which had relied for more than a decade on the close partnership between Stabler and Detective Benson. Mariska Hargitay, but it didn't take long for SVU to recover. For the past 10 seasons, the series has rested on the strong shoulders of Hargitay, who is practically synonymous with the brand at this point. So Stabler's big comeback wasn't a return to the classic two-hand of SVU, but to his own new spin-off show, Law and Order Organized Crime. Thursdays at 10 EDT PDT. And while Maloney hasn't lost a step as the glaring gruff and often over the line Elliot Stabler, the series premiere of Organized Crime was messy and frustrating, with a few of the touches that identify it as Law and Order spinoff. Other than Maloney's presence, there are no dun-duns, no shine-rons showing the place and time, and no introductory voiceover discussing the criminal justice system. The pilot set up one big villain rather than a case of the weak structure. With the trappings of the classic franchise from producer Dick Wolf stripped away, Organized Crime becomes boring and generic, a far lesser copy of great gritty cop dramas like The Shield or Southland. Maybe that makes Organized Crime a unique Law and Order series. But in the wide world of police shadows, it doesn't particularly stand out. Organized Crime kicked off with a crossover event. First, Stabler appeared on SVU where Olivia finds him at the scene of a car bombing in New York. His wife Kathy is being wheeled into an ambulance. Stabler soon explains he has been in Rome for much of his time away, working for the NYPD overseas on an anti-terrorism, human trafficking, and organized crime cases. SVU immediately swooped in on the car bombing case, trying to figure out if Stabler was targeted. After a few false flags, it becomes clear that a big conspiracy is tied up the bombing, and SVU is taken off the case. By the end of the SVU episode, Kathy has died from her injuries, and Stabler is on the warpath. The crossover was a smart way to open, primarily because it allowed Benson and Stabler to deal with their baggage on the SVU installment, and they had plenty to discuss because of his abrupt exit. Maloney was written out of the series off screen, and when he shows up, Olivia reveals that they haven't spoken in 10 years. But when we get to Organized Crime episode where Benson also visits Stabler, isn't very stable, and he fudges the rules with the NYPD boss so he can work on his wife's case. The clues eventually lead to a mafia family Stabler has dealt with in the past, including Suave, son Richard Wheatley. Stabler decides he isn't leaving New York to return to Rome and joins a task force aimed at bridging Wheatley down. As a pilot episode, Organized Crime was extremely dense, racing through plot points super quickly. It's as if a half season was stuffed into a single hour. Even with the benefit of an SVU episode to set up its premise, Organized Crime was a muddy mess of information, failing to adequately establish any regular characters other than Stabler and Wheatley. Exactly how Stabler slid back into an NYPD position isn't made clear, nor is the structure of his new task force. So it's pretty clear that they're just, their choice to bring back Stabler was a good one. But I would say that their choice to create a spin-off for Stabler individually was a bit of an offspring. Yes, Stabler was an amazing character. He was awesome. But I think they should have just returned him back to SVU. Not give him a spin-off series. I think that was a waste of time. I haven't seen the OC Organized Crime episode yet. Mainly because I just thought it was going to be boring. I think they should have just returned him back to SVU. There was no need to create a spin-off series at least another spin-off series for this man. They could have just returned him back to SVU. It wasn't even that hard. So that was a little bit extra. That's my opinion on that. And the fact that they would have to create all plot lines and stuff them into one episode, that's just too much. But like I said, that's their decision. I can't really, do anything about it. But I would definitely say they shouldn't have done that in particularly. But hey, it's their decision. At the end of the day, I can't really control what they do. It's all up to them at this point. So what I can say is that, Law and Order was an amazing show. Law and Order SVU was. It was an amazing show. I don't think there was a need to create another spin-off series for this man. And, the fact that I was wondering why did they take him off. I didn't even know that his negotiations failed the last time in season 12. I had no idea. But I just thought that was a pretty not good choice to make. But hey, it's their decision, their TV show. It probably will, maybe as the episodes go on, we'll get a better grasp. Well, I'll say that. But thank you for listening in to today's episode. Make sure you subscribe and follow this podcast on both Google and Spotify. Bye-bye, guys.